Hello, everybody. I'm Will.
And I'm Kristen.
And this is So I'm Watching Riverdale, Season 7, Episode 11.
Chapter 128, Halloween 2.
It's the time of the night when you scream. So good. I feel
super good.
I feel so silly being saying the same thing over and over again, but I am riveted. I just cannot believe how striking the difference is.
Yeah.
I haven't looked specifically. Is there a new showrunner?
No.
Or new writers?
There might be new writers. It's still Roberto, though.
This is a long game.
Yeah.
This season. And the stakes have really marinated, let's say. I am riveted. At every moment, I genuinely wanted to know what was going to happen. I was excited about what was going to happen. And we had the, reveal that Reggie was in the Bulldog's car and it went over
Sweetwater River. Yeah.
And I gasped.
Yeah.
Actually gasped. If you want to watch along with us, you can head on over to patreon.com/soimwatching the show at the $3 tier, and we do live unedited reactions.
Yep.
I
don't actually have a ton to say about this episode. It was pretty contained and not a ton of stuff happened.
Well, it wasn't plotty.
Yeah.
But it was I don't know. It
was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This Betty plot in a previous season, 3 episodes max.
Well,
max.
Okay, the other thing, though, is in previous seasons, she was just actively having sex. So this is so much more interesting watching her kind of struggle with the ways that she's allowed to express herself and how Alice thinks she should express herself and how she also, she doesn't want to get a reputation. So she's wants all of these things, but she's trying to go about it in a way that she was angling for a threesome, though. 100%.
I'm a little furious.
I'm so mad.
I thought there was a chance they were going to give it to us. They just don't do it like they used to in the 2000s.
They sure don't.
No Hillary Duff guest starring on this episode of Gossip Girl. I just I love it so much because we don't see this plot from girls a lot.
Yeah.
And certainly not good girls, reputable girls. And I just think that that's wild. And to juxtapose it against the 50s and so I watched this video essay. There was apparently a adult animated cartoon in the 70s called Wait Till Your Father Gets Home. It ran for 3 seasons.
Okay.
And it's kind of what Family Guy is.
Oh, okay.
When you put it on, you're like, oh shit, this is the blueprint, okay. Hard. And it was fascinating in a lot of ways. And it also made me furious that nothing has changed.
Oh, yeah. No.
They were having the same conversations. There's a gay character and there's this
kind of shit still happens all the time.
If anything, it's happening more now than it was.
Mothers still tell their daughters dumb shit like that. And it's just you don't need to wait until you're married. You can have sex with your high school boyfriend. Nothing is wrong with that. And I just It makes me furious. I'm on your team. I'm furious.
So it was Halloween. Teenagers are banned from going out in Riverdale because
4 students died a couple years ago because they were out causing trouble, and they went. I think they went over the Sweetwater Bridge too.
Okay, and so kids are allowed to go out, but teenagers have to stay home and watch Alice and Hal Cooper.
Ugh.
Host, which it actually seemed like a blast, to be honest. When as an adult man watching,
sure.
I was I would love to just to stay home and watch Match and Amick and Lachlan Monroe just camp it up while old
just
movies.
Sort of the Vincent Price holiday specials from SNL.
She said they were in singed clothes, and I was that's weird. I was what is that? And then I realized that it was sort of a lab explosion. Yeah. So she had her hair was all I can't decide if that's going to be the thumbnail or the 3 of them. I think I think Alice Cooper is going to be the thumbnail because a lot of our thumbnails have been horny this season.
This season is so horny.
I legitimately thought they were going to give us an Archie and Betty and Reggie.
Because she's just having imaginings of them both making out with her at the same time. And I'm so just bring that into real life.
And then Archie and Reggie's scene getting ready, like getting dressed up for Halloween.
That should be the thumbnail. So silly. So silly.
Veronica decided to have a party for all the teenagers at the Babylonium where they perform, they being Veronica and Kevin and Clay and Toni and Cheryl.
Yeah.
So the 5 of them performed the like finale number from Rocky Horror. I have no problem with it, but I am curious because they've been pretty
in the time period. Yeah. I was like, I'll allow it, but that is, you're like 20 years early.
Well, because I was trying to remember, it was a play before it was a movie.
Oh,
and
I didn't
so
know that.
I don't, oh yeah, I don't think it was in the
Not
50s.
the 50s.
I think it was the 70s, the 60s and 70s.
1975 was the movie based on the 1973 musical stage production, The Rocky Horror Show.
Rocky Horror Show,
Yeah.
and it's picture show for the movie. So
it is a tribute to horror B movies from it says the 30s to the 60s. So in that sense, it's like a little more, but I agree. I'm like,
fine with it, but
touchy,
it was incongruous in a way that they've been very, on.
Well, maybe that was just so that when Alice comes spying, it's like even more salacious because it's out of its time. It's like,
oh, maybe
it's like more progressive.
But she also wasn't spying on the most risque part.
Thank God, did not see Cheryl and Toni kiss.
I'm fine with it. We've been really bartering with the show as to how we wanted them handling the queer characters, and I'm tapping out. I'm fine.
Well, I'm not sure. I think we can't tap out yet because Evelyn never saw Toni and Cheryl holding hands at the end.
Sure. Actually, that's a very good point.
Especially after Cheryl and Midge lied about having food poisoning so that they could go out with their inappropriate partners.
I forgot what Cheryl said, but she set up a joke where she was talking about wanting to explore, go out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, do you want to get crushed by a giant stone? Because this is how girls get crushed by giant stones in New England.
Come on.
We've been there. But yeah, so they performed. Everybody loved it.
Yeah.
Things and Midge were there. And we got a lot of Midge. I said in our episode, it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Because I just like Midge. I'm just fond of her. And
I love this. I liked the old actress, but I love this new actress that's playing her. I think she's doing a really fun job.
Well, she had this beautiful lavender purple that suited her hair and her skin.
Oh my God, she looked beautiful.
But yeah, and we did say that they have sort of confided within each other their secrets, and that is where Evelyn Never did over here at Pops.
I'm not sure she overheard, but she definitely saw them, and she saw Cheryl holding Toni's hand. If she also found out that Midge is pregnant, which Cheryl was surprisingly non-judgy and very happy. She was like, congratulations on your happy news. Love that for San Cheryl. Fantastic attitude. Especially because Midge and Fangs are so excited about it. They want the baby and they want to be together, and I'm just okay.
Jughead checked back in on Ethel.
Well, I think Ethel called him, but yeah, regardless.
She's not doing great.
She's not doing great. He's also now, because he talked to the cat lady next door from the
crazy cat lady,
Mr. Rayberry. He's like, well, it's obviously actually a milkman. And so he goes on an absolute spree.
Unhinged
in the high school cafeteria. Everybody put down your milk! Milk! Only drink powdered milk!
Karate chopping.
It just was slapping it out of kids' hands. He dumped out all of his milk. But the indication is not that the milkman is poisoning with the milk.
But I think that would be a next step.
Just that it's under the guise of being a milkman, he's coming in and brutally murdering people.
Do you start off with stab, stabby, stab, and then go to poison, or does that usually go the other way around?
I would start off with poisoning.
Yeah.
But poison is a woman's weapon, so.
I guess the milk, I've been unsure how much I believed the milkman was real. I guess I believe he was, and I do now, spoiler, Ethel got out of Sisters of Quiet Mercy.
She escaped down those tunnels that we saw in like season 2.
And Jughead like set her up in Ray Bradbury's.
But not before he paraded her with her bare face around town at a Pep Comics party. Everyone's looking for her.
Well, and they've been doing this like Ethel Jughead tango a little bit. That they did it in like season 1, and then
they did it I think as far as season 3.
Yeah.
Because when Betty was at the Sisters of Quiet Mercy too.
I don't hate it, but it is odd. I guess just or noteworthy.
Yeah, especially because in this episode, it appears that Veronica has no more feelings for Reggie. And so she is like
that
back
for me.
Back on the market. And I was like, I liked it so much. And I want it back.
Fine.
Just a little.
So anyways.
They haven't even shared a scene together again.
I think they talked like once.
That's not enough.
So anyways, Jughead dropped her off at Ray Bradbury's apartment, and she went in to the pitch black apartment, didn't turn on any lights or no sense of...
And he was right there behind
alert
the door.
or awareness. And so she has seemingly stabbed him. Jughead like came running in.
Because the cat lady was like, oh, I thought you were the milkman again. And we've got a real good Dutch angle, like tilt shifty kind of thing.
And he was dead on the ground. So I guess he is real. And back to what I was saying, it's not that I guess I thought maybe it was a metaphor or something.
Well, that's what the one comic writer at that party was saying. Because he was trying to figure out who wrote the Milkman comic so that they could try to figure out if there were like any more clues going around. And that's why he took Ethel to the Pep Comics party. And so the one writer guy was like, it's like the enemy is here at home. It's not the communists, and it's not like, any of the other stuff. It's like the rot is coming from inside the house kind of a thing.
It was giving me American Horror Story NYC, where I'm like, okay, so the bondage killer might not be a real corporeal person.
Well, so obviously I have thought that the milkman was real the whole time, but I do think it hangs the metaphor together, because what is more all Americana than a man literally delivering you bottles of milk every day? That's very old school America, like
we don't do that
50s. Yeah, exactly. And so for me, but it's also like it's the same thing as like the milk metaphor in the movie Get Out, where it's like there's a reason that she's drinking the milk the way that she's doing it and why that's part of it, and it's because it's like representing purity and stuff too. And it's so a man delivering this like pure liquid to your house, but under the guise of like actually wanting to murder you, is a pretty good metaphor. And also Betty saw him too in this episode. So now I'm like, checkmark 100. He's real.
Because as Betty and Archie were leaving, the fresh milk was on the table.
On the table, yeah.
So, yeah.
Because they broke into Ethel's house.
Yeah, she was all like excited about the haunted house, and I was like, "Yeah, cool,
cool haunted house." And not an actual. Murder
then there's
house.
just a picture of their friend with her dead parents smashed on the ground, and I was like, "Oh, so you were like, let's go to Ethel's house and poke around, if you catch my meaning."
Oh man,
I don't know. Archie or Reggie bowed out.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
And then,
especially because Betty even made a comment when she came down in her costume at first, and she was like, I'm Goldilocks, because she couldn't choose one bed. And I was just like,
give it to me, Riverdale.
Grabby hands.
Clay and Kevin found out that Veronica's sleeping in the building that she owns.
And they were way too... like end of the worldy about it.
Yeah, Clay is still a little odd to me.
I agree. I like him, and I like the actor a lot.
Yeah, I don't have any issue. I think he's cute, but it is very sort of like insert Kevin love interest here.
Yeah, and
I know that the name Clay Walker comes from.
You're still on your moose bullshit. I get it. I'm on your team.
It's just sort of like, oh, yeah. Okay.
That is largely
we
it.
did say, so Reggie was walking home, and we think he was like a space hero.
Yeah,
he was dressed like Wolverine.
I couldn't parse his costume at all. He did have like a blaster kind of
Mary
thing.
did some good leather work, though.
She really did. Like, very impressive.
Very fast and tight.
Especially because it appears that this was like a very last minute decision that they made to do this. And Mary just was like, you got it, honey.
And KJ and his little cowboy. Oh.
So cute.
Oh.
So cute.
But Reggie got in the car with Julian and the other bulldogs, and they went off the river.
Julian is a sack of shit. I hate Julian like a lot. And you're telling me that in the next episode in 2 weeks, I am supposed to be worried about whether or not he's going to wake up? No, I'm not worried. I don't care. I do care. I don't want him to wake up.
I can't believe that I'm the one bringing this up, but I am curious as to where Polly is.
Oh my God, I have actually been wondering as well. So, like, is Betty an only child in this universe? Because I would be very curious about Polly as well, because I would also think that they could, like, Alice could be using that, like weaponizing that against Betty. Like, you don't want to end up like your sister. And I kept on expecting us to go to the Sisters of Quiet Mercy with Ethel and see Polly in the background somewhere, and we haven't. I am also curious about Polly. I don't need Polly, but I'm curious about her.
I've done like a
90?
Yeah, I was going to say it's not a 180. I don't know that I was ever, is it a 360? I don't know. I'm not nearly as hostile to Polly as I was.
Well, she got some good stuff towards the end of last season.
Well, she was dead and then back alive again. Yeah. So unless whatever's happening here in this like 50s universe has something to do with the characters who are alive and who are dead.
Yeah.
Because we have several dead characters tapped in and several alive characters tapped. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's all so much fun. So, okay. I think that's largely it. Were there any other talking points?
Well, Alice like interrupted Betty and Archie about to kiss, and
sent Archie home.
And Betty was like, I thought you weren't my mother anymore. And she was like, well, you're still living here. And I was like, she has multiple homeless friends she could go live with. Don't threaten Betty with a good time.
Jughead's still not feeding hot dog.
What in the hell?
That has always been a concern of mine.
Ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. It doesn't look like there's going to be, I feel like Reggie must be alive because it doesn't seem like everybody in the previews for the next episode are sad enough for Reggie to have died tragically by falling into Sweetwater River, but Julian is in a coma where he can rot for all I care. But yeah, I think that is mostly it. Pretty good episode, like I said, though, not like a huge amount of stuff to like actually talk about.
It was just sort of being in the plots.
Oh, Archie did take a stop at Fred's grave when they were in the cemetery, which I thought was so sweet. I just love that they are keeping Fred in our minds still. I just think it's so nice. So few shows do that, and I love that they're doing it. So, yeah. So we will be back in 2 weeks on the 21st. Yep. Midsummer. So, okay. Bye.